Do you guys want real talk? In fact, all the videos on this channel, I'm going to start with that. Do you guys want the real talk or you guys want the fluff? Okay, let me know. I'm imagining that you're saying that you want the real talk, so here we go. First and foremost, let me say this. The people that are quote-unquote swirlers and also the people that are quote-unquote SYSBM or now passport bros, not all of them, but there's a certain type of person who champions interracial dating in a very shameless way. Off rip, these people, in my opinion, are damaged goods. Okay, these people are people who have been subject to certain traumas growing up, which is unfortunate for them, but they have not overcame their trauma. And that's something to be said to anyone listening. Okay, being traumatized as a child in your developmental years is not your fault, but when you become an adult and you don't take responsibility for it, it now becomes your fault, because unfortunately the world looks at you as an adult and sees that you are not responsible for your own failings now. It's unfortunate, but it's a fact. You now need to take control and commandeer these issues, right? This is your time in life. Your parents, if they're not deceased, they're old and they're irrelevant, to be honest. You know, so it's incumbent upon us to solve our own traumas growing up, okay? I just need to say that because I believe that what I'm about to talk about today is distinctly different from people like swirlers who champion, dating these other people. Like, it's very ridiculous and, and they're very shameless. But I'm talking about general people, your average person who isn't on these weird online groups, obsessed maybe with some sort of, I don't know, on the spectrum a bit, fringe. The average person. It's a complaint by, I think, many black people, particularly from my point of view, black men. They complain about mixed race women often bypassing them and typically choosing to date white men. It's something that a lot of guys apparently observe, and some are quite frustrated about it. But again, putting aside all these weird swirlers and these weird glorifications of other people and this fascination with white or lighter skin, putting aside all of those, which it afflicts some people, but I don't believe that is the main driver for attraction in relationships. Some people are tone deaf. Many people who observe these things aren't even experienced in relationships. I've realized that. Many people that talk about female nature, for example, they've never even cohabitated with a woman. Their first impressions of relationships were probably some 3-month to 1 year long weekend type of thing. If you've never actually lived with a person, in my opinion, you don't really fully understand the dynamics of relationships. And this is why you get a lot of this kindergarten-based ideas, theories on why people gravitate to relationships, and often you find yourself at deadlock with people, experienced versus inexperienced. You're going to find yourself arguing with people who abide by theories from random people on the internet versus someone who's been years deep in these type of dynamics. But I digress. But simply put, the main reason why mixed race women or mixed race people might gravitate to white people, actually, I'll give you two main reasons, okay? One is the simplest reason, and that is because living in the UK, there are demographically more white people around, more white people are going to be available, more white people are going to be single, right? When you go to work, when you go to the gym, when you go to the supermarket, you're going to be surrounded by white people. When you go to school, college, university, you're going to be surrounded by white people, okay? As human beings, I really don't believe, I know there's some people that say, oh, they find certain whole groups of people, certain races unattractive, but I don't believe that. I think as human beings, we can see attraction prevails through any ethnic group or any racial group. Okay, so it's only a matter of time when, you're around white people like this, you're gonna you're gonna interact with these people. And I think you'll be stupid if you don't, because you're gonna miss out on knowing great people, good people, based on their personality. If you're this weird type of racist, or you have some prejudice and you avoid people because of their racial group, then, you miss out on meeting great people. So that is the first point, is that we are surrounded by one dominant group of people, okay? And so it's only by the numbers you are gonna be you are gonna at some point have to, at the very least, discuss potential relationships with in this case, white people, okay? But the second main point is, which it might be controversial for some of you black people, and this is why I gave you the disclaimer at the beginning of this video. But the second reason is in relation to class, okay? Like I said in the opener, many black men and black women are traumatized. And this is why we have all these fringe groups on the internet, and we have people who are grown people who are very emotionally flippant and uncomposed. They take very negatively to logical responses, right? And so I'm pretty sure, at some point in time, many mixed race women were attracted to black men. Like, I think it's quite natural, especially those that have their fathers in their lives, if their father is black. But even those that didn't have their black father in their life, with that absence, it creates a sort of mystique about the black side. And I'm pretty sure at some point a mixed race person goes into this Afrocentric phase where, they're trying to look more African, and of course they're mixed race, so they might come into it and come out of it. And I think that's not their fault. That's just what they are, And I think that should be respected. But I think at some point, to some degree, mixed race people enter relationships with black people. But what I believe and what I've known and what I've been told, in very intimate conversations, is that unfortunately a lot of black men, again, come with some baggage. Whether it's emotional, past trauma, but also probably most realistically, the class, right? The class difference, the cultural difference is also there, because again, typically the white people in this country, if they've been here for generations upon generations, it's very likely that they come from a higher class, or they have a better kind of social economic standing. They are not inhibited. They are very, I think outgoing is not the word, but I mean, because they do tend to do things culturally, it's to be very outgoing, to travel. They might go to places where many black people might not find comfortable. So through those travelings, they become astute to a certain quality of life. Like going up to the mountain to ski, going to the sea on a yacht. All these things that some people might consider, quote unquote, white people stuff. Hiking in the woods, right? And so this develops into a person who is, quite positive, enjoys life, wants to experience new things, wants to be going out there and soak in the world, versus, the typical first or second generation black person who isn't the same. Many inhibitions, and a lot of them not our fault. It could be racial discrimination. It could be, just simply walking on the street in a certain area and not feeling comfortable because you believe people are watching you in a certain way, or, walking on the street with a certain type of woman from a certain ethnicity, you believe people are staring at you, mugging you. And that might affect how outgoing you are and how willing you are to go and do new things, right? So there is that difference, which is related to class. But then the trauma aspect is the differences in upbringing. I'm gonna say something that you might call me a coon for. I don't mind, I don't care. But you'll be a fool if you don't say that you can see a difference in how white kids are raised by white parents and how black kids are raised by black parents. Let's keep it real, let's keep it a stack. Maybe some of you haven't really been involved with white families like that, so you can't really see it to know it. But as someone who has, there is a difference, okay? Affluent white parents are not beating their kids silly like a lot of the working class, maybe even middle class black parents. They're not treating their kids like servants to go, give them hard labor chores to do. They're not treating them with a certain disdain. Some black parents and mothers, especially because of the maternal energy, I can't imagine how some black parents will look at their kid and call them blick, or call them rubber lips, or call, just to demean and cuss their physical appearance. And then we wonder why these kids grew up in such a traumatized way, in such an unloving way, right? This trauma, if unchecked, it bleeds into your future relationships. It's common knowledge. And so many mixed race people who came from, I would say, a more loving home, a more activated home, more stimulated home where they've got some attention, they've got some love and care, they're not being treated like almost like animals, right? They come into contact with this attractive, well-built, black guy, but then they can kind of see or kind of tell that, hey, there are some problems here dealing with this type of guy. When many of us don't grow up with a father, many black men behave in a way that is going to be quite alien to a woman who has grown up with a father. It's the truth. Many black men that don't grow up with a father lack initiative. So you're doing things like, you're not really planning events and stuff. You're waiting for her to kind of plan events. Like, to be honest with you, a lot of women just don't really, a lot of feminine, let me make it clear, a lot of feminine women don't really want to be in that position because it's quite stressful for them. And many mixed race women, to their credit, are quite feminine women, are quite soft women. And so they need that typical masculine guy that is willing and able, but has been taught how to be a man. There are, certain aspects of masculinity that when we lack, it rubs feminine women the wrong way. The polarization is not complete. But other class-based issues like money, income, unfortunately, it's the truth. If you don't have a certain amount of income, your ability to do certain things, even just for recreation, is going to be diminished. Right? So your social economic standing will affect potential relationships as well. If you're, you just want to be at home, work, who wants to really live a life like that? That's why, I've always promoted the idea of being interested in things, going to do new things every week, being accustomed to your environment, because I think a lot of black people are raised to be very, very almost alien. You know, I call it like moving like a phantom, not feeling like they belong here or they are even alive sometimes, you know? I feel like some black people move and act like they feel like people can't see them, you know, like they're invisible. You know, and that says something about a certain mentality. And when people pick up on that, you know, that typically translates into low confidence, emotional, kind of emotionally dishonest. You know, and that's another thing. Just, you know, you might be being a nice guy all the time, but that's not honest reflection of who you are. There is a certain freedom with being a masculine man, and that deploys a certain honesty as well, where you're upfront and open and honest and pure and real. You know, that for me, a rugged individual is the perfect perception of masculinity. And if your upbringing has blocked that, or if you have not received that training from your masculine father, these mixed race women, they might just start picking the men that have their fathers in their life, the men that come from complete wholesome family lives. You know, we have to be real about this. We can't be angry at white people for living better lives, living healthier lives. That's their right. You know, that's everyone's right to have that and to do that. So that white guy that you might see that mixed race woman with, maybe he's just a very good guy. You know, a lot of black guys want to compare looks and this and that. Maybe he's just a very good guy. You know, sure, we can talk about racial dynamics and how it affects society, and so, you know, people want to talk about things like hypergamy. Okay, but what I realize is that a woman can only hide this type of stuff for so long. You know, and what I mean by that is all this stuff, if a woman is not fully into you, all this other stuff, money, cars and home, all this other stuff really means nothing, because it's gonna break down in the future anyway if she's not really attached to you like that. You know, that's what people that talk about hypergamy get wrong. And again, it's because it's theory based and not coming from experience. You know, but the problem with black men isn't so much just rooted in socioeconomic and monetary, but I think the primary thing is the mentality. You know, a lot of the trauma growing up also develops into a low self-esteem and a self-defeatist attitude and behavior. And women especially can pick up on this. Women especially are very attuned to picking up on a man with low confidence. And that is important, because a man with low confidence is often is going to relate to a man that is lacking ambition, a man that is lacking drive for life, a man that is probably prone to depression, probably prone to being lethargic. You know, these are the typical traits that female species of the mammalian, of mammals, usually look out for. It's not money, car and homes and drip. It's your base personality capabilities. You know, and they have a keen sense to these things. If you're low self-esteem, bruh, that's not gonna bode well for the future. And it's these things, as well as, you know, with point number one, the fact that the majority is going to be white men versus black men. There's more choice. A mixed person who is half black, half white is probably more biologically willing to try, you know, to date either or, right? The taboo is not so much there, you know. She's familiar with white culture, going to the pub and, you know, all the other kind of stuff. But the other aspect, which a lot of black men don't want to talk about because it requires a lot of self-reflection and introspection, is that are a lot of us really mentally ready for these type of relationships? You know, a lot of black men think it's just all about muscles and drip and looking good and looks maxing. What about your brain? What about your mindset? You know, a lot of guys complain about women leaving them, and all they want to do is blame the woman. What about you? What about your flaws? You know, without this level of introspection, you're just going to be bitter, and you're going to, you know, I've seen a lot of people, especially passport bros, all their intent on doing is blaming white men, blaming white people. You know, some guy on the internet was saying, oh, all these Asian women with white men, oh, I can't stand white men get all the options. Like, thinking like that just shows us how ugly your psychology is, how low your self-esteem is. You've put yourself in a literally a beta position, comparing yourself with someone else without even knowing who they are. You know, not knowing what they are. You think, you know, it's an entitlement. You think you deserve something that someone else has without knowing what they've done, who they are. You know, and again, this rubs off of people the wrong way. And from my personal experience, this is why mixed race women are more prone to dating and coupling up with white men. This is the biggest reason. It's not, the biggest reason isn't, oh, race, you know, to try to appease to some like apartheid, like Jim Crow system. No, in this day and age, women are free to choose who they really want to be with. And I think with women, women can only pretend and fake the funk for so long. You know, and so this is why I believe this thing happens. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Do you agree? Do you disagree? All opinions are welcome. Like the video if you want to hear more of these. Again, around this time on the weekend is when I'll be uploading videos of this nature on this channel. But yeah, let me know your thoughts. Catch you in the next one.